Hey, Amari.
Hey, how you doing? Hey,
Hey,
good to see you.
good to see you again. Yeah.
Yeah,
How's
very good to
Jay
see
and the
you.
kids?
They're all good. It's great when you see familiar faces in this. My team just asked me how I was holding up, but when you see a familiar face, it gives you I'm recharged now. Now that I see you, that gasoline, I'm cool.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
thank you for asking about the family. I appreciate you.
Oh, of course. We're in strange times. I'd be remiss if I didn't do that.
And yours is
Um,
cool. Your family's
yeah,
all good.
everybody in my camp is cool. Thank you for asking. I
Good,
appreciate that.
good.
So were you driving that helicopter, that plane in the movie for real?
No, I wish I could say yeah. Damn it, I want to say yeah to you. Shout, shout outs to all of those who became pilots in this space. Morgan Freeman, as you know, pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Rest in peace, one of my favorite of all time, Steve McQueen. He learned toward the end of his, very brief time on this earth, he learned how to pilot. And maybe it's something I want to add in there, but I don't know. Jay's still relegating me to riding a motorcycle around the neighborhood and not leaving the neighborhood. So flying the plane might be a far stretch for me. I don't know about that. But
Yeah.
no, there was an incredible stuntman who did it. There was a company, they built one. And so you see one that we ended up doing in the beginning of the movie. You see it, and it was built. And Mark Tonneray, actually, the film's director, he held camera while we basically made that thing move in the storm. And then we had a stunt guy actually fly it. And then basically I drove it into that final space. But we shot it in South Africa. So we shot
Oh.
uh, Cape Town for Appalachian Mountains, which was crazy.
That is crazy, but it was
Yeah,
beautiful. Nice
beautiful.
terrain there. Very nice
Absolutely.
terrain there.
Yeah.
How much did you know about witchcraft before you saw this movie?
I knew enough with family from Savannah, you know what I mean, and South Carolina, and the Geechee friends that I grew up with, the Gullah Islands being not far from where I grew up. And then, of course, 6 hours away, 5 hours away is New Orleans and the Louisiana, diaspora and what that means there. I have friends that were Haitian growing up. I have friends that are Haitian. I have friends that are African. So I'm no stranger to the basic construct of hoodoo and voodoo and that of the lineage connector to us in terms of the African diaspora. And then, of course, the amalgamation of which Christianity included in makes it this whole gumbo of a different thing. I did not know what I learned further, and that being that they do have these beliefs that many of these people have been on Earth for the amounts of time that we, as the viewer watching, for example, Loretta's Eloise, we view her as someone who's about an age that our eyes, perceive her to be. And then I learned in this Bible that was created by our film's director and what he gave us that there are some of those customs and traditions that you and I speak of where people believe that they've outlived another layer of lifetime span on earth. And so it's pretty fascinating. He gave us almost a 200-page Bible, and we were supposed to dive in and learn what we could. And I would just reference it as much as I could and try to be, I don't know, try to embrace that I was from that, because that's the whole thing. This character I'm playing is from that, yet I feel so foreign from that. And so that was the whole sort of juggernaut that I had to go through. The seesaw battle was embracing that you're from that which you're trying to run the furthest away from.
Let me tell you something, Amari Hardwick. I am not the horror doll, but I saw
Me
this
neither.
because of you. And because Jay is
Uh,
from St. Louis, I was like, let me just check
uh,
it out because my brother's wife is
man.
from the Lou. Let me go ahead
Uh,
and do this. But baby, I was like
that's
this.
cool.
I was like,
Different, right?
oh my God, I was a hot buttered mess. But this brings me to this question. Your character is, like you mentioned, is trying to run away from where he came from. Have
Yeah,
you ever felt in your life as Amari Hardwick that there was something in your past or in your life that you were trying to run away from?
for sure. I don't think that you'd ever be interviewing me in this space if I answer no. I think from Meryl Streep to Angela to Viola to Daniel Day to Denzel, back to Paul Newman, down to Don Cheadle, and here your friend Omari sitting in front of you. I don't think any of us that I just named do this thing. Let me throw comedians in too. Richard, Kevin, Michael Epps, back over to Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. I don't, Tiffany Haddish, can't leave out my teammate and friend from Nobody's Fool. I don't know if we could ever do this if we're not trying to outrun something. That's the reason we run into these characters. So for sure.
And, you know, I did a little research on you, brother, because there were some things I didn't know. I didn't know that you were such an accomplished musician and poet, and that you had this
Oh man,
podcast and everything. So kudos to you on that. That was
thank,
wonderful.
thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And last but not least, with us being in COVID, with this being a whole different time that we're living in, and with Black Lives Matter being more powerful and more present than it's ever been, and us on the eve of an election, how have you been able to make your voice powerful and prolific while being quarantined at home with the fam?
I've done it in great question. First of all, great question. I've done it absolutely using modern technology. You know, I mean, damn, Steve Jobs was bright, wasn't he?
Right? I'm on a Mac right now. He was everything. He really was.
And it's cool to see Bill Gates equally differently bright to shout out recently in an interview about, you know, the embracing of what made he and Steve Jobs different. But I say all of that to say these technological advances, you know, they just continuously happen. So you get people that are building upon the shoulders of the Bill Gates and the Steve Jobs, building in the space where who knew about Zoom and the powers that it could extend for us as a people pre-COVID. Nobody knew it would become what it became. We had issues with Zoom in the beginning, right? Am I wrong? Like people, there were
Yeah.
piracy issues. People were like sneaking peeks in when they shouldn't be. Like we had to figure it out. And then we ended up having an NFL draft on that. I could speak to all of HBCU for their commencement when these poor kids didn't get to walk across the stage. And so I just continued in that space, whether it's talking to you or whether it's talking to Stephen A on ESPN. I just thought, well, you know, I've always negotiated fame, which is a weird thing for me. I've always negotiated with God by saying, if you give me this stage and let me reach back and reach out and reach above, reach down to those that, you know, need my voice, I'm gonna do it. So it just, you know, it made sense for me to get on every platform I could, helping Frederica Wilson, if it was she, this incredible congresswoman who represents Dade County, if it was talking about my relationship with Congressman Lewis, and then using that ability to speak about it and to remind people that activism is a real thing. And, you know, you have to stand up for everything, but you got to stand up for something. You don't stand up for anything and you'll fall for everything. So I just kept pouring into the community. I'm just about the culture. And I was raised on Harold Belafonte and Bill Russell and Jim Brown and all of these voices that matter. Muhammad Ali at the top of that. Deion Sanders, who's become an activist in many ways, even using spirituality to do so. So for me, the athletes were the first heroes for me because I was such a sport kid. But now these actors, you know, these actors that I'm next to the left and the right, that I feel so proud to be in the huddle of, where they use this platform and again, in the microscopic way, this platform called you and I looking at each other in ways we would have never thought could happen. So I want the youth to get out and vote. It's the most important moment of our time. I didn't watch George Floyd breathe his last breath because I already feel like I know what that looked like. I didn't watch. I wish every white person watched it. I wish every person who doesn't look like George Floyd watched it. And I'm knowing that they did because for the first time in my lifetime, and definitely in yours, definitely in Loretta Devine's, let's use her age as the range and speaking about what we're speaking about here. We had never seen a band of differing colors and people and mothers from near, dear, far and wide come together and go forward or attempt to go forward the way that we saw during this time. So it's just unbelievable. And for God to choose me as one of those voices to make the world, not just our culture, but for the world to go further. That's
Well,
forever one of the most flattering things ever for me.
well, I'm glad that God chose you, and I am so glad that you chose me to interview one of the many people to interview you today. I
I
appreciate
appreciate
you.
it.
I love you. I adore your work, and please give the fam a big hug and some love for me. And I'll see you the next time.
Done deal. I'm simply humble. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, brother. Bye.
Peace.